On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing housing inventory, Realtor.com's best time to sell, how to leverage that if you're an agent, and the FOMC preview. Today is Monday, March 17th, 2025. I'm Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Welcome into the hot sheet as we kick off another week with the only housing show live on the internet that goes daily every day the markets are open, except for Fridays, of course, Monday through Thursday, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. This is your only 24-hour look back on the housing market and the economic conditions that impact the housing market. Today is a day that starts to feel like spring for consumers. Now, I've been saying here on the hot sheet, we're in the thick of spring. If you really want to educate sellers how to be smart, we're in the thick of it right now. Okay, we're like taking the turn. So maybe some guys like to grab a hot dog on the turn. Some guys like to keep it clean and just go right to the 10th hole. We're getting close to the turn of the spring market. I've seen some disagreements on that. No, the spring's just beginning. That's consumer thoughts. The spring market is just beginning. Just because it's St. Patty's Day and it's March Madness weekend doesn't mean that the spring is just beginning. We're in the thick of it when you think real estate. I'm going to prove that to you. Actually, there's a chart inside of BAMX. By the way, school.com/BAMX to get access to some of this stuff. There's a chart inside of BAMX today that I'm going to show you that if you put it in front of sellers, the light bulb should go up. The eyes are going to open when you present it, when you make the details of how important it is to be listed early in the spring market believable and show them. So BAMX members, you're in for a treat on that one. If you're not a BAMX member, go to school.com/BAMX to get in today. By the way, the ability to get in is going to go up here pretty soon. Everybody gets grandfathered in at their current rate. Here in the classroom, you get all access to all of the hot sheet slides and data right here, as well as our Friday done content, school.com/BAMX. And tomorrow, BAMX members, we're going to do a live role play before the hot sheet. So 9 a.m. tomorrow with me, live role play, of course, members only. That's going to be tomorrow at 9 a.m. So taking your objections, your scenarios, your spring scenarios that sellers are confused by, and running some different objections by you. I'm going to be able to take all of those. All right. All of that out of the way. Make sure you go to school.com/BAMX. Haley put the link down in the live chat. There'll be a link in the description if you're listening to the replay. All right. All of that aside, it's also a big week because it is Fed week. The FOMC is going to meet here they're going to start their meeting tomorrow. We're going to get the presser from Jerome Powell on Wednesday afternoon, as we do every single time Jerome Powell has a press conference. We're going to break it all down Thursday morning. We're going to go through all of the transcripts, the BAM team is, and we're going to extract every moment, question, or prepared statement that happens about housing. And I'm going to sift through all that nonsense and BS for you so we can really start to read into the tone, how the Fed's thinking about the housing market and the economy overall. What we do know, according to CME Group, is there's a 99% chance that the Fed will not cut. In fact, there's some analysts right now that believe there could be one or none on cuts this year. There's another group that believes that there could be as many as 3, which was the early projections coming into the end of 24 and coming into the beginning of this year. One of the things before we get into housing inventory, as we cover every single Monday, one of the things that came out this morning, another data point on inflation, on economy, on chances of recession for the Fed to take in one last piece of data before they obviously kick off their meeting tomorrow, was retail sales came out this morning. They increased 0.2% in February, less than expected. Okay, so another another data point. We had some data points last week that inflation was declining. This, less than expected, would be one of those data points that we have a slowing economy. These are February's retail sales. I already saw a headline. Everybody's trying to make this stuff political. Don't take the bait, guys. Don't take the bait on this stuff. I already saw a headline this morning. Retail sales less than expected in February. Trump's tariffs are destroying the economy. Recession is looming. It's like February's retail sales are indicative of like what's going on before that. January, February. I mean, January 20th is when he got in. Like, don't take the bait on this stuff. Everybody trying to divide these economic conditions through a lot of the policies got to work their way out. Obviously, we've been following that, but this is another signal. And I've been saying this for, I don't know, 15 months or more. This is another signal that the economy isn't strong for everybody. The economy's not like robust. There are things that need to be fixed in the economy. You know, one of those fixes that people would say are, that need to be fixed would be the housing prices, the ability to buy a house. Chamath Palihapitiya, All In Podcast, formerly an owner of the Golden State Warriors. He was one of the first, I think top 40 at Facebook. He's a billionaire anyways. He tweets out in response to Warren Buffett thinking about selling Berkshire. Okay. He's basically making a quote tweet here that suggests home prices are about to go down. So a tweet comes out. Warren Buffett is in talks to dump Berkshire's real estate brokerage. If the world's most patient and calculated investor is getting out, what do you think happens next? Chamath quote tweets this: the world's best investor is selling his bet levered to U.S. home prices. I disagree with that completely. If Warren Buffett wants to sell Berkshire, which he certainly does, he was certainly in negotiations. No matter kind of what Gino says about that, there's enough evidence to suggest that would be the case. I would say that it's more levered to transaction count and agent count, and than home prices, right? Like, home prices wouldn't be the reason to sell Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. It's how many transactions are there going to be over the short term? What's the economic effects on that? And then, like, is my ability to attract more agents in this world of consolidation and attraction, is that going to be robust moving forward? By the way, like, I mean, obviously none of these guys are in, Chamath is not in real estate. So he's brilliant. But not taking an emotional stance of like, okay, why is Buffett maybe potentially selling Berkshire Hathaway Home Services? I talked about this a little bit, or we broke it all down. We actually had Andrew Undum, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, great friend. I got a lot of friends at BHHS. I was golfing with one of them on Saturday, and I put up just an Instagram story. I said, give me your hat. I took a picture of his hat, his Berkshire Hathaway Home Services hat. I don't know. Hey, Haley, you're not going to be able to find that because it was a story. Let me see if I've got it, and I'll send it to you. I take a picture of his hat on my story, and I just put out an Instagram story, and I said, saw this in the pro shop. They were on sale. Okay. I get all these responses back. I'm not gonna be able to find it. That's what I did. I took the hat, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I blurred out my friend's actual brokerage, local, and lots of friends at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So all the BHHS people that are like, oh, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that. Guys, don't get emotional. These are business decisions. If Warren Buffett, who was definitely in talks, now whether they're going to dump those talks with Compass or not, if he was in talks to sell Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, I mean, listen, he sold Apple this year. Doesn't mean that Berkshire Hathaway Home Services is a bad business. It's a great business. It's why Compass wants it. It's got a great mortgage tie-in. Now, one of the things I would say to Chamath, if we had a longer discussion, that it's way more leverage to transaction count and agent count versus U.S. home prices, is how I think about mortgage. One interesting part about Buffett or Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, rather, potentially exiting out of the brokerage game is that what just happened with Rocket Redfin? Berkshire Hathaway Home Services they drive profits. They've done a great job on ancillary, on mortgage business. And now if there's going to be a lot more competition on mortgage, is the margins in the future on Berkshire Hathaway Home Services for the company, for the shareholders. I know agents don't want to think about that, but for the shareholders, that's who Gino represents, not you. Is the company going to have as big a margins if all these other companies, Zillow's going to buy a mortgage company someday? Write that prediction down. It's going to happen. They've already bought one, but I'm talking a big one. When there's more competition on the mortgage, is their margin going to be as good? Okay. And listen, and the way to think about these deals for agents, I'm sorry, and then I'm going to get into the inventory stuff here, is to just take a non-emotional approach about it. It's all business, right? Like Wall Street Journal reports Compass is in advanced talks. Everybody knew these talks were happening. Now, I don't blame Gino for coming out and taking a position. There's game theory. There's negotiating going on. It's do I want to get back to the table or do I want to make it look like I'm leaving the table? Like Gino's playing a game of tariffs with Compass. Like we were in no talks. We're not in talks. I'm not picking up the phone right now. Okay. Don't blame him. Probably great negotiator. Okay. Thursday, they come out and say no discussions, no negotiations, no agreement. Right. So there's the side by side. Okay. How about in 2015 when you had Verizon denying AOL interest? Okay. January 15th, outlet reports Verizon buying AOL. Verizon says no. Verizon buys AOL for $4.4 billion. NBC Universal reassures the staff, Comcast, not going to happen, not acquiring them. Comcast acquires them. Okay. Like this happens all the time in a deal. Cause I had a lot of agents asking me like, why would you say they were really talking? One, the rumor's been going on for 3 months. Two, this happens all the time in negotiation. Like, do you want to give up leverage in your negotiations? Of course not. Okay. So listen, get comfortable with consolidation right now. Get comfortable pitching your value in the market. And I'm going to show you something on a listing appointment that's going to be really useful for agents moving forward in the next segment. Before that, let's talk about inventory. For the first time this year, we've hit a peak for inventory according to Altos Research. It's the first time since week 1. We started the week this year with active homes on the market at 650,000. We're now above that number. We took a serious jump up this week on active inventory on the market from 600. God, I hate it when it does that. From 642,000 active inventory last week to now 655,000. Okay. March Madness this week, we're going to get into a couple of months where we're now seeing inventory move up and move up meaningfully. It happened last year around this time. It happened in 2019, a much more normal market. Now, 2019 at this time, we were around 830,000 active listings. We're at 655,000. Highest point of the year, highest point since week 1. It's usually flat the first 2 months in a normal market before it starts building up. We have a chance to reach 2019 or next to it levels in the second half of the year. We're going to have much more inventory if we continue at this pace, 28% more than last year, than we did at our peak time last year, which was 740,000. We might be at 850. We might be at 900,000 in the second half of the year. The question is going to be in the second half of the year when we have that much active inventory, the most we've had in 5 years. When we have the most inventory we've had in 5 years in the second half of this year, when the spring market is behind us and most of the buyers who wanted to buy this year have done it, the question is going to be, how do prices react to that much inventory? How do prices react in the last 6 months of the year, which is why I want to be a seller now, not then. I don't want to take the gamble. Are interest rates 7 or are they 6? If they're 6, we could be experiencing a little mini late year boom. If you get 6% interest rates at the beginning of the fall and you have a lot of options giving flexibility for more people to put their home on the market, you could see transactions increasing meaningfully. You could see transactions going up. You got to get to 6% to really get transactions to move up. We're at 6.75. I don't know, the last 2 years, we've kind of bounced between 6.75 to 7.5. If we're at 7 or over 7 in the second half of the year, and we're at the most active inventory we've seen in 5 years, because that second part is going to happen, the most active inventory we've seen in the last 5 years, outside of something wild taking place. The question is going to be, how does the market react to that? What kind of pressure on prices will that provide? That's why what I'm going to talk about on timing the market, you can't time the market, but for sellers right now, the conversation you're having with sellers is very important. I'm about to show you a game-changing slide to make this real for sellers, okay? We're going to get into that in a second. Here's one of the reasons why we might believe that interest rates aren't going to be up over 7. The spread between the 30 and the 10 years is the best it's been in over 3 years. Okay, the spread is at 2.36. You know, you would normally see it down here around 1.8. If we were at a normal spread, we'd be at 6% on the 30-year. If we were at 2023 spread, we'd be damn near 8%. We'd be over 7.5% on the 30-year fixed. So we want the spread to keep improving. Obviously, the trend has been the last couple of years that it will keep improving. There's no guarantees there. Pending contracts right now, we're still 3% less than we were last year. So, the early, the late winter, the early seasonal market here where we've been up over 7% on the 30-year, that hasn't been the last few weeks. That really slowed things down. We're seeing a little bit of a tick up right now on pending homes, but we've been very sensitive to that near 7% rate. Total home sales in contract, 3% less than last year, well off of obviously 2022's mark. We're kind of like in line with 23, 24, which were really low numbers historically. Okay, so still trending near that, despite some of the positive readings we've seen on the mortgage application index. We had a really good reading last week. Okay, we've had last year we had 14 negative prints. This year we only have 3 negative prints so far, 4 positive. So more positive than negative. Last year we only had 2 positive versus the 14 negative. So we're looking for more signs there. We're looking for the 30-year to stay under 7. When we're under 7, we get a little bit more relief. We get a little bit more movement. But 30-year, the 10-year has kind of, while we've had a lot of stock market issues over the last couple of weeks, the 10-year has actually moved down. Okay. We're still at an elevated level from where we were August, September, October. But over the last 3 months, we're trending near our lowest level at 4.3. This is kind of where we've been hanging here for the better part of the last, couple of weeks, is the 4.3, which has kept us in line on the 30-year, right around 6 3/4. We bumped up a little bit the end of last week to 6.81 to end the week. The weekly came in just a tick higher than the week before at 6.65. 6.65 is a good number, right? If we start trending down towards 6% and we get that inventory increase into a healthier place, it'll be interesting to see how many more would-be sellers come out of come off the sidelines and join the market. Okay, it'd be very interesting to see. All right, best time to sell your home. I mean, the conversation starts now if you're a seller. Realtor.com has identified the best time to sell for 2025 is the week of April 13th through the 19th. If you go to your local market stats, your MLS, you're going to see that the majority of the high prices, some markets are going to be different, but across the country, this is kind of a rule of thumb. The highest median sale price in a given month is likely June. Maybe it's May, maybe it's July. It's that time period. Why is the highest sale per month compared to the other months in any given year? You can go back 25 years and see this in June. Because those homes went under contract in April. They were on the market, went under contract April, maybe as early May, maybe late March. That general time period. And that general time period brings conditions that are very favorable to sellers. Very favorable. I'm going to jump into BAMX. BAMX members, you go classroom here. You go down to hot sheet. You go on the left. You find today being March 17th. And then you go down and these are game-changing slides for you. Okay. So these slides back up what Realtor.com, which has more data than any company, but outside of maybe Zillow, and they've got, I would say, comparable data with the amount of traffic that they have to what's going on. Okay. So you have the least amount of price reductions. This red line is that week, April 13th to the 19th. We have 30 days before that, and the conditions are very similar. 1 week is more reflective of the 30 days before, the 30 days after. Right now, the price reduction share outside of the holiday week, which we know is not a favorable time to get the most money if you're a seller, the price reduction share is at the lowest. By the way, price reductions right now are higher than they've been the last couple of years. 34% versus 31%. And you've already seen, I'll just go back into our last topic here really quick. I'll jump back into some of that data. Actually, I can just stay right in. I've got it here on BAMX, so I can actually just stay right there. If we just look at new listings, look at this jump on new listings. So some sellers are getting this information. We're at 68,000. This is a huge jump from where we've been the last few years. You want to be on the market now, not at the end of the spring. See this? This is end of spring, really into summer, when all the sellers follow each other like sheep. They follow the herd. They wait for the grass to be green. Remember, it's St. Patty's Day today. It's March Madness this week. So in a consumer's mind, this is the beginning of the spring. If I'm going to make a real estate decision, I have a lot of time. I should be waiting until the grass is the greenest. I should be waiting until the end of the spring. I don't want to be the first. You don't want to go to a club and be the first one there. You want to show up late when the place is packed, when they walk you to your table. I haven't been to a club in decades, by the way, so no experience there. But you want to show up when the party's going on. Nobody wants to be the first one at the party. Well, in real estate, it's quite the opposite. You want to be there early. Because when all the buyers show up, they're going to be competing for your property. This is what these sellers have figured out. Now, it also might tell us that, there's going to be a lot of new listings this year, creating an abundance of inventory. And depending on where the 30-year fixed is, this could put more pressure on price. Okay, so when we look at the best time to sell, okay, we've got the lowest amount of price reductions right now. That's great. That's one data point. Okay, that's great. For sellers, it's also the time of year when your home is on the market for the least amount of days. I want to show my sellers this stuff because the data is believable. A lot of agents make this mistake. Now's the best time to be on the market. Mr. Seller, the most buyers are out there in the spring. Okay. Great. Those are words. Do you want me to go to my fridge and get you a salad to go with your words? Because it doesn't mean anything. You're just saying cliche things. This is why we have this stuff right at your fingertips inside of BAMX. Pull it up. And then now, hey, your house is going to be on the market the least amount of days right now. When your house is on the market the least amount of days, saves go up, shares go up online. When saves and shares go up, offers go up. Okay. And what we know about listing right now versus waiting until that other chart that I showed where you're going to see more of the listings come on. This is the competition. The active count of listings is at the low point of any point in the year. These next 30 days leading into that week in April. The conditions are favorable. Okay, this is like October for the Gulf. Conditions favorable, hurricane. Chances high. Chances high that you're competing with less homes right now. It happens every year. This is your least amount of competition early in the spring if you're a seller. Okay? And here's the interesting part. Your competition's the least, and this is the game-changing slide I'd be using in front of every seller over the next 30 to 60 days. Page views per property are at the highest they'll be all year right now. Our competition is the lowest, and the traffic, people looking, people shopping, is at an all-time high. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what that condition serves. It's the perfect condition for somebody bidding on your home, for a potential bidding war, and the reason why you see the highest sale prices in June is because the buyers want to enjoy the property in the summer. They don't want to look photos of they don't want to look at photos of it in the summer. They want to be living there in the summer. They want to be there before the school year. Page views per property is peaking out between now and call it 60 days from now. And then it'll be on a decline the rest of the year. The attention, the eyeballs, the energy that we can get on your property is at the peak moment right now. Right now. This is when you want to capture it. And the reason why I want to show that like this, instead of saying it, hey, the most clicks we get online is right now. That's great. Those are good words. Showing becomes believable. The details are believable. Even if it's just bringing it up for a second in the listing appointment, that's when it becomes believable. If you tell somebody about compound interest, most people, by the way, if you have a conversation about compound interest, they're not going to even be able to wrap their mind around it. If you tell somebody about the benefits of compound interest, or the benefit of fixed mortgage, these kind of things, okay, those are words. I guess you're right. It sounds like it could be right. You show somebody a compound interest chart and how it can dramatically change their ability to retire or save money, it becomes believable. Okay. So having the visual is really important in these situations, especially on the page views. I don't listen. I know, that there's just not going to be a lot of agents that are going to walk in and start talking page views and how those impact saves and shares. You want to actually show somebody how to leverage Zillow, talk to them about page views and shares. This is a social media world. Sellers get that. If they own an iPhone or an Android, they get page views and shares. Trust me. They get that creates excitement around a property. That's how we should be explaining it. And right now, listen, you want to let a seller make the decision to come out on the end of the market, and wait to set to, because they want to follow everybody else. They want to follow the herd. Listen, look what happens at the end of the market. When you wait too late into the market, price cuts start going up because everybody starts competing with each other. Price cuts go up. The same week last year, The last 2 years, 2023, we had 41,000 homes nationally come on as new listings for that week. 41,000. Last year it was 60. This year it was near 70. More and more people are going to quickly start thinking about selling in this spring market. It's to your advantage, Mr. and Mr. Seller, to be out there. I don't know what the second half brings. I know right now and historically over the last 20 years that when you list around this time frame, and this is why Realtor.com is putting this data out there, that your chances of getting the highest price possible goes through the roof. Right? Like let's just play the odds. Let's just go. We're walking to a casino. Let's find our best odds. If we're committed to selling in this season, let's find our best odds to increase price. Okay. It's not about the green grass. It's about when am I going to have my house on the market when I have the least competition, the most eyeballs. The conditions for that is right now. It's over the next 30, 60 days, call it. All right, FOMC's meeting this week, and we need to know what they are going to do. CME Group suggests 99% chance that there will be no Fed cut on the federal funds rate. So that's the expectation, and most believe that to be the case. Bank of America believes that this meeting here this week is going to be about policy uncertainty. Well, that doesn't sound great. The Fed's going to certainly stay on hold. So validating what CME Group is projecting. They're going to be emphasizing patience. Remember, the Fed, there's a belief that the Fed wants to see a wait and see approach with this new administration. What's going to happen? Okay, what is tariffs negotiation? Is it here to stay? How does it impact economy? Are we going to bring the deficit down? All these different things. They want to start collecting some of that data. It's a new administration. There's new policies. But in Bank of America's view, the Powell put is not forthcoming. Okay, so markets could interpret the Fed's message as hawkish because they're focused on downside risk to activity. The SEP forecast and distribution of risks are both likely to reflect stagflation, weaker growth and higher inflation. Now we're going to get projections from the Fed. Okay, so we got projections in December. We're going to get projections this meeting. So they're, that's kind of going to be their big thing that they talk about is their economic growth projections, unemployment rate projections, inflation projections. They're going to talk a lot about that because they give that every 3 months. You're going to be giving it here, right? And just to look back at where they're at, GDP projections on the December was 2.5 to 2.5 on 24. This year it's 1.8 to 2.2. We'll see if they change that. Do they change GDP projections? They've been consistent on September and December when they put these projections out that 2025 would be 1.8 to 2.2 on real GDP. They moved 26 down slightly in December, and they moved 27 down slightly as a top end metric on GDP. And these aren't big GDP numbers. Like, we better really cut the deficit down if these are our GDP numbers, right? There's like one way for us to stop this debt spiral. It's cut the deficits or outgrow the deficits. This is not outgrowing it. You need to get up over 4% to really start outgrowing it. 5-6%. These are just, this is less than inflation. If you come in at 1.81 on the low side, 1.8, 1.9, and 1.8, we got inflation down to 2. That's less than inflation. Those are not good numbers on GDP growth. That's just the projections. Unemployment rate of 4.2. They have a projection of 4.2 to 4.5. So, back in December, the Fed expects unemployment to go up. We haven't seen that yet this year, so it'd be interesting to see what the projections come in at. Inflation projections, they have us at 2.3 to 2.6. That's kind of where we're at. Next year, 2 to 2.2, and then 2007, 2. So they've given themselves a 2-year window here to get inflation down to 2 per their projections, or just based on where they think it's going. Okay. Those are the Fed's projections from December. We'll see where they come in here and we'll have that data on Thursday. We're going to go over it all together on Thursday. All right. 10 years since we've been live here for and markets have opened. We're at 4.293. Just looking at markets right now, we're green. We're green to start the week. Okay. I don't know if that's because it's St. Patty's Day. I don't know, if you're drinking some green juice or some green beer later, but the markets are green. Feel good about it. 10 years down under 4.3. These are good things. I'm looking forward to that. All right. I'm also looking forward to joining all BAMX members tomorrow before the hot sheet. So 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. I will be doing a live role playing, objection handling, taking your real-time objections. We talked a lot about the spring market. What could a seller say to maybe trip up my statements earlier? Or what could they say to really gain more clarity? How can we lean into that conversation? I'm going to be doing that tomorrow at 9 a.m. with BAMX members. Just go into your calendar tab, click on the 9 a.m. role play for tomorrow. The Zoom link's there, and you can add it to your calendar. Any calendar, as easily as one click. Go school.com/BAMX, calendar link, calendar tab, 9 a.m. tomorrow, live role play before the hot sheet. Then we're going to be jumping in, obviously, to the hot sheet as we do every single day, 9:30 Eastern time. All right. I got one more piece of data here before we sign off, and that is the cash markets for the past week. Top cash offers. Atlanta takes the 1 spot. San Diego, Charlotte, Vegas, and Phoenix are the top 5. Fort Collins, Dallas, Tampa, Jacksonville, and Raleigh make up your top 10 housing markets for cash offers. This is Zoodealio data. They got more data on this stuff than anybody. And BAMX members also get a Zoodealio platform included in your subscription. It's a $2,400 value alone right there. Generate 4 offers on every listing. So before you even get to work, you could bring 4 offers to the listing. You can generate them and bring them to the seller. Say, hey, I've already gotten to work for you. It helps you get more listings, obviously, and helps you stand out. You get that as a BAMX member. All right, BAMX members, tomorrow, 9 a.m., live role play. Then back here on live YouTube for the hot sheet, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. It's the best way to support us here at BAM for free is by just making sure you're subscribed to all of our content. Appreciate you guys. Have a great start to your Monday. We'll talk to you soon. Until then, toodaloo.